Día 3 de la cobertura de Mobile World Congress en Barcelona sobre el sector de las telecomunicaciones. Nos visita Ashish de la empresa Genband para seguir profundizando en el tema de voz sobre LTE y voz sobre Wi-Fi. Ashish, welcome to Telesemana.
Thank you, Rafael.
Thank you for being here. First question is, what is Genband showing here at the show before we enter into the VoLTE and voice over Wi-Fi segments?
Sure.
Please tell us a little bit, what are you showing the operators that it's new? What is your message to them? So whatever is watching this can pick up whatever you are promoting here.
Definitely. So Genband, just in a very brief way, Genband provides real-time IP communications, and there's a lot going on the mobile side on how the IP communication is being adopted in the mobile networks. So there's several ways of doing it. We are focusing on all different facets of how you can bring in voice over LTE or RCS type services to the market. Mm-hmm. The latest and greatest voice over Wi-Fi has been a topic of discussion, a lot of interest. We're talking about how we are enabling carriers to offer voice over Wi-Fi services and carrier Wi-Fi services. And the most exciting one for us is our launch of Fring Alliance program, where we're bringing a federated solution for carriers to come together and kind of collaborate to bring over-the-top services as their own and have a larger address book federated solution.
So when you say federated solution, would be any carrier in the world can join this program and participate?
Yes, so anyone can join. They all become on-net users. So it's a fight to the OTT and by coming together.
Okay.
So the intent is to build a large subscriber base and have every carrier, whoever wants to participate, can join, bring their users. And if you are a carrier and I'm a carrier, my users can talk to your users as on-net.
Right, that's pretty good. Have you had any confirmations of any carriers already, or?
Oh, we already have a lot of Fring users.
Okay.
Carriers.
Fring, right? You acquired Fring
so
last year or 2 years ago?
Yeah, 2 years ago. So we have a lot of Fring customers, and not just typical service providers, but a lot of innovative providers who like gaming companies and others. They're all looking at how to integrate real-time communications into their normal business flows. So we launched, Fring is just one aspect of the solution we are talking about. There's also what we launched last year was Candy, is a development platform that took the principles of Fring and other solutions we have from real-time communications and provided what we call as Lego blocks, as APIs. So anyone who wants to just take Fring as is, they can, or they can utilize just the components of it and build their own applications. They can embed real-time communication in their own business processes, like either on web or mobile. So those are several different solutions we're excited to talk about at our booth, which is in Hall 2. Extensive traffic.
Yeah.
Wow, I mean, I'm just amazed in
how many
people are interested in over-the-top services, API development platforms, and voice over Wi-Fi. I mean, it's amazing.
That's interesting, because coming to the show, prior to the show, if I had to bet on which topic would be very hot, I would say voice over LTE. But I found out that all the providers like yourself that are involved in voice over LTE are not saying that voice over Wi-Fi it's raising even more interest than
definitely.
Voice over LTE.
See, I think
why do you think that's the case?
That's a great question. The reason is voice over LTE has been something which people know, right? Is they understand, and there's 300 plus LTE network deployments out there, and up until now, voice over LTE was a buzz. A couple of years ago, everyone said, yes, that makes sense, and then when they started looking at the business case for it, and it's not new technology.
Right.
It's a new implementation. Having said that, there are many who actually launched services last year, and we'll see more. It just started making more sense for several operators to launch voice over LTE. It's bound to happen. It will happen. Voice over Wi-Fi is something new, entirely new in a way, because now you're leveraging a new service. The trigger point was Apple announcing native support of Wi-Fi calling on the devices.
True.
Up until now, it was a challenge because you have to manage clients, you have to manage secure clients, and how do you start leveraging untrusted Wi-Fi?
So
and
it's kind of interesting that a manufacturer of a device is the one
promoting
instead of being the other way around. Usually operators would launch the network and then would ask for the devices, and suddenly Apple said, no, I'm going to give you first the device.
Yeah.
Now figure out how you can put these access points for
right.
voice.
It's actually, at the end of the day, it's about customer experience, right? How do you make things simple for the end user? And
right.
what Apple did was just make that easy, right? They said,
once again.
So they said, okay, I'll take that ownership. I'll make it easy for the Wi-Fi calling to happen seamlessly. Now, from Genband perspective, it's very interesting because as carriers look at this technology, they still are worried about, okay, it sounds interesting, but if I have to offer the service over any Wi-Fi, which is not controlled or managed by me as a carrier, I really don't want to bring that service into my network without any type of protection.
Right.
Right, so that's where Genband comes into play and say, okay, we can do that. We can handle that dilemma or challenge by bringing in that traffic securely into your network, and be it just encryption of the traffic, be it authentication of the traffic, or be it mobility of the traffic. So what becomes more interesting for voice over Wi-Fi, and a lot of carriers we have spoken with, they're looking at this as a faster go-to-market for their voice over LTE services, which is very interesting.
Okay.
Way to look at it. And
it's surprising.
Right, so...
because it should be the other way around. I mean, we thought it was going to be VoLTE and then voice over Wi-Fi.
Voice over Wi-Fi, and then they see it, because they're still investing in the complete LTE network, they're still using 3G, parts of this 3G, the mix of 3G and 2G out there, right?
Yeah.
They look at, okay, here's an infrastructure which is a Wi-Fi. It's an IP-based infrastructure, so they don't have to invest in an access layer for IP. And now they can offer a voice over IP service, which is over an IP network, and still have some say in how the service runs and operates using their mobile number.
Right.
Which is amazing for them, right? Which basically gives them a new way to differentiate, new way to add new services, and their own way of basically saying it's an over-the-top voice service. Now, over-the-top. A lot of people say, okay, does that mean over the top is no longer relevant or it's compete? But the way we look at it is over the top is like your R&D, right? You always want to stay ahead. You're adding new things. You're adding new services quickly. So that will always be there, and it's very difficult for all of this to catch up. I personally feel they will all coexist. It will depend on the market you're chasing and the customers you're serving. In some cases, it will make sense for you to have modules like I was talking about, the API modules where you're embedding yourself in enterprise services. There will be cases where you want to leverage the Wi-Fi infrastructure or small cell infrastructure to just expand your services and bring data, better service, better coverage, better quality. And where your coverage is bad and you just want to say, okay, if Wi-Fi is available and the strength of Wi-Fi is better, use that to carry voice.
Right.
So it will be a mix of it. From a consumer perspective, it's becoming less seamless. It's more and more seamless.
More seamless, yeah.
More seamless, because up until now, as a consumer, I have to make that choice, right? When I walk in,
either I connect to the Wi-Fi.
I have to look for Wi-Fi. I have to find a Wi-Fi. I have to see why all of this is happening is because I'm paying for that minutes, right? And those kind of models will go away eventually. All this will become like, from a carrier perspective, is the new way of ecosystem. Your roaming partners are different. Your roaming partners will be Wi-Fi operators. Any real estate company who has larger footprint of Wi-Fi access points. Think about cafes, right?
Yeah, could be a partner.
Like Starbucks is could be a great partner for them. Hotels who already have their own Wi-Fi. So the way of the ecosystem will evolve is going to be very different. It's not going to be just mobile carrier to mobile carrier talking about mobility, right? So it's going to be many new players offering services, many new infrastructure vendors, and how this all will work together. At the end of the day, it's about giving a better user experience to the end user.
Right. Final question. It's a topic that I haven't heard much here at the show, but perhaps you are Genband, perhaps you, on your booth there is this discussion, is WebRTC.
Yeah.
Which, it seemed like a very promising technology to make sure that operators were able to take some of their services to different devices and make sure that, the user can switch between devices and still access like voice services over Wi-Fi, but not using the phone, but using a tablet or a computer. So I don't know if WebRTC, I don't know if you're seeing any interest. I mean, when operators are reaching your stand and you talk about voice over Wi-Fi, do you skip altogether the WebRTC debate, or you put it on the table and saying this is where we're going at the end of the day?
I think WebRTC is going to be even more relevant now, because when we are saying voice over Wi-Fi, right? Voice over Wi-Fi. It's voice riding over a Wi-Fi infrastructure. That's one application.
Yeah.
I was saying, as it becomes a carrier Wi-Fi, it's up to them what services they want to add. So now all of a sudden, your services that you are planning to launch over that Wi-Fi network, as long as that Wi-Fi network is authenticated and is authorized to be used as a mobile number, now you can add new services. If you look at why VoLTE did not pick up initially, it was so dependent on the devices to support it.
Okay.
Right? What WebRTC gives you,
freedom of device.
It's a browser-based technology, and you can add anything: voice, video, messaging, collaboration.
Whatever.
So from our perspective, the user is basically using the service off of any device, any network, and they hop on and off from one network to another, from one device to another, and expects that service needs to work, right? So I think that's where we'll see a lot of this mix of technologies, the mix of the leveraging Wi-Fi and cellular network together,
with WebRTC.
WebRTC and natively built Wi-Fi networks and over-the-top services. So there'll be a mix of how you will leverage all of this together to provide a much better experience and more set of services to the end user.
But let me just rephrase my question very quickly. So we know we're going to WebRTC, but are people visiting your stand interested in WebRTC, or it still is something more for next year, perhaps?
It's extensive. We already have several deployments of WebRTC.
So it's happening now?
It's happening now. I mean, enterprises are extremely interested in WebRTC. Call center markets, financial sectors, healthcare sectors, all our UC services that we have reskinned everything on WebRTC. Okay. So we're already using WebRTC extensively to launch our services. In fact, even for our Fring services, we have a WebRTC skin for it. So
it's happening.
It's happening.
All right. Well, Ashish, thank you so much for sharing your vision on voice over LTE, WebRTC, and what Genband is offering here at Mobile Congress.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Great. Thank you.
Thanks.